Good day and welcome to Blackbullion South Africa's Insights webinar, the flip side of the coin, Youth Financial Wellness in 2023. That's where our focus will be today. Thank you so much for joining us at Blackbullion South Africa. Our mission is to foster a community of financially savvy youth. That's why we've chosen to wrap up the month of June with a webinar that focuses on young people. My name is Tsepo Khapane. I'm a proud member of the Blackbullion South Africa team, and I will be co-hosting this webinar alongside my colleagues, Scott Unwin, Duncan Patrick, and Ronald Jordan. You will also hear from a few surprise guests. So during the next hour, we will provide you with a comprehensive overview of Blackbullion South Africa, and more importantly, highlight the positive impact our platform has had on young people's lives. We'll also share some valuable insights into youth financial wellness based on the experiences and the perspectives of people that are on our platform, the young people. So a couple of house rules to ensure a smooth and interactive session. Please utilize the box located at the bottom of the screen or the top right based on the platform you're using to view this afternoon to ask questions, to engage with us. Please do note that the webinar is being recorded and we will be sharing a recording link, to this recorded session once it does conclude. And of course, we are also on social media as well. So if you'd love to follow us on social media and engage with us outside of this session, please do. We are on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we are on Instagram, and of course, you can also pop us an email as well. Follow us so you can experience some of the fun and interactive campaigns that we run to engage with our community. And once again, thank you so much for joining us for this insightful webinar where it's all about youth and how they are building a healthy relationship with their finances, their moolah. So now let's dive into the world of Blackbullion. I'll pass the virtual microphone to my colleague Scott Unwin, who will provide you with a more comprehensive introduction to Blackbullion and share some intriguing insights regarding our platform's user demographics. Scott, over to you, brother.
Thank you, TK. Appreciate the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Scott Unwin. I'm the head of innovation and operations at Wafunda, and I'm excited to share some information about Blackbullion with you this afternoon. So Blackbullion South Africa is the localized version of a globally acclaimed financial education platform, which was launched in the UK and has been embraced by universities across the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and of course, South Africa, and has reached over 1 million young people and students since its inception. Our aim is to empower young individuals from the ages of 16 to late 20s and provide them with the confidence to shape a financially savvy future. So what sets Blackbullion South Africa apart is our unique focus on the needs of young people. The platform combines vibrant visuals, gamified interfaces, and easily understandable content that resonates with our young audience. Importantly, we prioritize financial education over advice, and that ensures that we offer unbiased guidance without promoting specific financial products and services. The content itself covers all the essential topics you'd expect, like budgeting, saving, debt and credit, and investing. And additionally, we offer supplementary topics such as black tax, loan sharks, and financial scams. Importantly, the localization of our content always involves active collaboration with young people, and that ensures that it's relevant and accessible to our user base. In terms of the content and how it's delivered, we have interactive pathways which have built-in assessments. Those are accompanied by informative articles and supplementary resources, really facilitating an engaging user experience for our audience. In terms of measuring the impact of Blackbullion South Africa, we employ detailed analytics that track user engagement and progress. And then we also conduct surveys to gather data on our users' financial habits and attitudes, which enables us to provide valuable insights to our clients and stakeholders, which is exactly what we're doing today. Another aspect of our product is building a community of young people, and we do that by extending our reach through various channels, including email, social media, live webinars, competitions, and incentive campaigns. So please do follow us on social media. We will share the links again. And ultimately, we believe in fostering open dialogue and expanding the impact of our work beyond the platform, which has really proven successful in recent months. So let me dive into some platform demographics in terms of our user base. So globally, there are currently over 194,000 active users on the platform, with just shy of 2,500 of those users here in South Africa. The average age of our user base here in South Africa is 26. And if we drill down a little bit, we can see the bulk of those users are in the undergrad phase of their studies. And then in terms of some more demographics, we have a user base that's predominantly female. You can see almost 60% there, and majority Black, over 90%. So that was a brief intro to the platform itself and what our user base currently looks like. I'm going to hand back over to TK, who's going to quickly show you how we collect data at Blackbullion South Africa.
Thank you so much for that, Scotty, giving us a little bit of an intro into the Blackbullion platform in terms of, how it launched and what it's all about. And I'll delve into what the data itself looks like and how we collect it on the actual platform itself. Right, so this is what the Blackbullion platform looks like. As you can see, it's quite colorful and fun. This is our library of content. We currently have 26 modules. So those articles and, of course, the pathways, which are the animated videos or slides, that's where the analytics kicks in. But this is what some of our content looks like. The live file, debt, scams, a couple of things that Scott had mentioned earlier on. We're going to move on to how we also categorize some of that content as well. So you have the library, but we do categorize some of that content. And then we move into the analytics. So we've got this great dashboard of learner acquisition and engagement. So these two graphs look at learner registering on the platform and then how active those users are on the platform. So are they reading articles? Are they going through the pathways and the lessons? Are they completing the quizzes? How often do they log in? And as you can see, that graph goes up and down. We can also filter it according to various things, race, age, gender as well. We can also see a couple of other information. How many learners have registered? This is on the Phoenix account, which is one of our partners. Active users, how many lessons have been watched, a little bit of some more learner insights in terms of those pathways, which is the most popular, which one has the highest average score, which one has the lowest average score. And then in terms of our pathways, those animated videos or slides, we can drill into more data as well. So we can see how many learners have started a pathway, how many of them have completed it, what's been the average score. In terms of the quizzes, which questions are young people struggling with? So in terms of the budgeting 101, as an example, we can see how many learners have started it, how many have completed it. We can see the average score. We've got some insights as well in terms of, is budgeting something that is helping them? Do they feel confident as well? And then in terms of the quizzes, here are some of the quiz questions and how our group have answered. So we can also see where they're struggling, where they're succeeding in terms of budgeting specifically. But then we can also monitor individual learners on the platform. So we can see who they are, how many pathways have they started, what's been the average score, when were they last seen on the platform. We can even view their profile as well. And so as learners achieve things on the platform, the more pathways they do, they unlock badges, which is part of the gamification of the platform. So, we're able to monitor the entire cohort of learners, but we're also able to monitor individual learners as well. This is quite important for us. We want to know, what are our users going through? What content are they consuming? What are they struggling with? And then we can then create additional content around that. So that's just a little bit of an outlook in terms of what the Blackbullion platform looks like and how we then collect some of that as well. So thank you so much for that part in terms of how do we collect data. If you do have any additional questions, please do go to the chat box. We will have a Q&A session where we'll talk a bit about data and we'll talk a bit about some of the insights that we're getting from some of the young people. So we're back on the presentation. I'll be handing over to Ronelle, who heads up the partners and projects at Blackbullion. She will contextualize the financial well-being of young people in South Africa. Over to you, Ronelle.
Thanks so much, TK. It's always difficult to match TK's energy once he's gotten us going. But good day, everyone. It's so nice to be able to share the work of Blackbullion and youth financial literacy and context in South Africa. I think it's so super important for us to understand what the problems are we're facing when it comes to youth financial literacy, and also share with you why we've chosen to focus on the youth when we speak about financial literacy in South Africa. So we start off by looking at some of the research that's been done, numerous studies that's taken place throughout South Africa by various researchers, people much smarter than us. So I'm responsible for bringing all the data and the analytics into context for you today. So so all of the analytics, the data, and the surveys we run, we collate that and we gather those insights. But all these smart people who have done these numerous studies, if we can go to the next slide, we can share with you a little bit of what has been the findings from these researchers in youth financial literacy. So firstly, Fataki in 2014 showed us that third-year students in South Africa had low levels of financial literacy. And then to sort of, add a little bit more motivation to that, we see from Nanzeri and Leibrand in 2018 that the lack of financial literacy is most notable amongst young women of Black people. And so those three groups are, if we remember what Scotty represented earlier with our demographics, are really well represented at Blackbullion. So typically the participants or users at Blackbullion are around 26 years of age, 60% female, and over 90% Black. So we represent that group very well, which is really good for us. I'm so glad we're able to actually reach those groups that really need this kind of financial education. Then some of the other things that have been found by researchers like Lowe et al. In 2013 is the consequences of inadequate financial education being very far-reaching, and that individuals with a knowledge gap in financial matters often struggle to interpret financial information correctly. So what happens then is it leads to overconfidence in making important financial decisions. And again, we're speaking to youth here, so it's an early stage of your career, potentially when you just start making money and you start making very important decisions about things that will affect your future. That can obviously lead to over-indebtedness, a lack of future planning, and eventually even bankruptcy. So those are the sort of findings from the research in South Africa. These poor financial decisions often lead to damaging credit aftermath. So it really impacts, especially when we think again about youth and students, it impacts access to education and future opportunities. So that was found by Motlebane in 2017. So that's also something that motivates us to look at youth and youth financial literacy. Most recently, the FSCA, which is the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, had run their baseline survey, which they do every, I think, 4 years or so. I'm speaking under correction. But one of the things that we noticed here, that they predict a debt-to-income ratio of 75% in households. So this isn't necessarily focused specifically on the youth, but if we think of the households and where those youth live and where they sort of gain most of their financial education from, that is an extremely high ratio. So what that means is that households in South Africa spend about 75% of their income servicing debt. And the FSCA points out that 43% is considered too high already. So 75% is extremely worrying for South African households. And then they also speak about the correlation of how important it is that a level of education and financial literacy also leads to enjoyment of actually practicing that. And it becomes really important, according to the FSCA, to work with the groups like youth and less privileged who has limited access to that education. And so we know that comprehensive financial education will empower these groups the most, which is really fantastic. And so hopefully that gives you a little bit of a picture of why we're so focused on youth financial education in South Africa. We're looking now at a few quotes from students. So one of the really amazing and fun campaigns that we've adopted actually from our UK partner Blackbullion is money confessions. And so basically we ask young people across our social media platforms to tell us what money mistakes they've made that they basically confess to Blackbullion, and then we get to see sort of from their point of view and anecdotally, we get to see where are young people making their biggest mistakes in terms of managing their money. And some of the things that come up we don't share here because there are really some really hectic confessions, and so we keep those under wraps. But these that come up, like gambling for one, so many young people struggle with that little bit of allure of trying to make a quick buck, and oftentimes they lose out. So you'll see there someone had lost 10K on Betway and spent another 5K on alcohol because I was stressed. So it leads to a bit of a spiral. Irresponsible spending. So it speaks a little bit to poor money management skills and a lack of planning. There's quite a bit of impulse buying and overspending, not considering long-term financial consequences. So these are all fake names, just by the way. But Mika says, I withdrew all my money before my debit orders went off. And then the other one had stayed, Cindy in this case, bought clothes with my school registration money and ended up not going to school. So yeah, a little bit of impulse spending there. And then there's also the impact of black tax. As Scotty mentioned earlier, that we do cover this topic at Blackbullion, but it creates a bit of tension in families where, sorry, I can't read the name there, but I hide money away from my family, otherwise they will use it and I won't be able to pay my debit orders. So that's one of our respondents on social media who feels like they have such a big responsibility to their family that they have to hide some of their money. So it's crucial to highlight that all these mistakes could have been mitigated through financial capability. And so it really is, again, with our motivation to equip young individuals with that financial knowledge and skills. And we empower them to make those informed decisions, manage their money effectively, and build a secure financial future. So now we get to the data. As Scotty mentioned earlier, and Tika also showed us some of the analytics we look at through the platform. We spent some significant amount of time collecting data from our users, and because it's still the early stages of Blackbullion and one of the very few financial education platforms that's digital and scalable and online, gamified and all of those things, we want to make sure that we're going in the right direction. So what we do is when our users sign up, there's about 2,500 users that have signed up. We ask them to fill out a baseline survey. So we essentially ask them, what is your situation at the moment? And we kind of look across their confidence levels with personal financial management, as well as their behaviors and practices with their money. And we have had a significant response of 737 users responding to this baseline survey. So we've got quite a bit of information here. So we know that there are some positive financial habits already. So among the respondents, if we look at the bottom, 30% of our respondents say they save money regularly, which is fantastic. It reflects a level of financial management, a glimmer of hope that these young people indicated some potential for learning and for growth in their financial well-being. But there's a remaining 70% who will be ill-prepared when there's unexpected expenses. Then we have at 41%, so the biggest slice of this pie is young individuals managing their money by setting up a monthly budget. That demonstrates some level of financial responsibility and awareness. It's a fundamental aspect of effective financial management, and it allows young people to track their expenses and allocate funds wisely. So again, 59%, the opposite side of that coin is that there's some unstructured planning and some erratic spending and savings that results from not having a budget. So we really want to see that figure going up again. So there's some of the basic financial practices. Some of the lowest ratings there is around having an investment or owning an asset. So, and we also understand that owning an asset and having an investment at such a young stage of your life is maybe an aspiration for many. And we also see that when we ask them about content they're really interested in. It's always investment. It's always about where do I go? What do I do? And again, we don't give financial advice, but we do guide young people to think around what is compound interest, because it doesn't only affect your debt, it also affects your potential wealth one day and how you build that. So 7% of respondents recognize the importance of investing money and have some kind of investment. But again, there's a gap of 93% of potential for young people to invest in their futures. 2% own an asset, so it's very low. But again, we're speaking about young people who are potentially not yet earning a lot of money. So buying an asset is, again, it's an aspiration, and we're hoping to see that go up as the years roll by. And then stokvels, it's one of the key content pieces we also share with our users. And it's a beautiful communal way of saving, and it's a really popular way of saving in South Africa. So that is it's a nice percentage of young people who participate in stokvels. And we really encourage that. It fosters a sense of community, it amplifies the saving efforts, and provides a platform for financial growth. So that's really great. And we can see the insights from the survey creates a little bit of a picture of where the young people are at and what kind of financial education intervention could potentially help increase some of those percentages. So it also guides us in how we deliver content. We're happy about some of the financial habits that's been demonstrated already, but there's still some room to grow there. Just something we don't mention here is on the baseline, we will look at the confidence in financial management on their personal finances. We see it at about a 3.1 out of 5. So that's also something we want to see go up. So that's a self-rated scale that we ask our users to complete. Then another thing we found was really important for us to know is how are people educating themselves about money? So where are they getting information at the moment? So we now see that we've seen there's a lot of mistakes they make. There's some practices they don't have in place yet. But then how have they navigated this in the past? So when an emergency comes up or they do feel like they need some kind of guidance when signing a loan contract, where do they go? So parents emerged as number one in our latest survey. In the baseline survey. So 34% of young people say, I go to my parents, that's my source of truth, which is fantastic. I think it really gives them access to the family financial context. Parents can provide that personable and trustworthy insights based on their own experiences, and then still those foundational principles of financial responsibility. Disadvantage being, of course, is that financial knowledge and habits may be limited to what the parents possess. And it could be lacking if we remember back to the FSCA baseline survey. If most household incomes are spending 75% of their income on servicing debt, then maybe the household is not the best place to learn for a new up-and-coming young person who's trying to invest in their future and make future decisions. Google is next up. Not a big surprise that a lot of young people turn to the vast expanse of the internet for the guidance on financial literacy. So it's wonderful, it's accessible, it's convenient, it provides a wealth of information at one's fingertips. So we love Google, we love the internet, but it's also really important to understand which sources are credible, what is accurate, what can we trust, how much of this is linked to financial products potentially. So some pitfalls there. Observing others, 27% of them said that they learn from other people's mistakes or from other people's successes, which is fantastic. It's witnessing someone else's behaviors, it's friends, it's role models. And it gives them a chance to see some financial practices in practical examples. And so they can learn from those positive and negative experiences. So this method lacks a bit of structure. It doesn't cover the comprehensive financial concepts or strategies. So there's some learning there, but it's not quite as structured as we'd hope. And the other one that we found really interesting, which we must bank in your memory just for the next half an hour or so, is banks. So they're mentioned by 22% of respondents. And they're great because they provide a lot of financial education around resources, workshops, materials. And obviously they have a specialized knowledge in the field. And potential pitfall there is that it's often linked to their own financial products. So if you go to your bank for financial literacy, oftentimes you might be motivated or encouraged to open an account or take out a loan, take on debt. So it's important just to know and understand, to not be overconfident with that kind of knowledge, but to be able to discern what is good debt or bad debt, what is, how to read a loan contract and how to understand those financial products become really important in this case. And then other financial literacy sources mentioned by about 18% of respondents. So a lot of them don't actually go to purpose-based financial literacy education programs for their financial education, which is interesting, and we'll see later why that is. So these are resources that offers comprehensive and structured content. So this is the kind of thing that Blackbullion aims to do, is to offer more sort of comprehensive and well-rounded information for young people to focus their education on. It's usually very reliable information. It depends on obviously where they're linked to. Lots of these financial education platforms also link to financial products. So it's something just to keep in mind. But it's also, the accessibility to these platforms also varies. Some are free, some are not. And geographical and access to Wi-Fi and all of those kinds of things make a difference. And some of them also get delivered in person. So it depends on those kinds of access. I'm not going to go through the rest, trial and error friends, and then some of them didn't educate themselves at all at financial literacy. So we know there was a quite significant gap there. But if we can remember, just for near future reference, the top sources here being parents, Google, observing others, my bank, and other financial literacy sort of in courses in that sequence. And again, this gives us a nice insight to understanding the world of the young people and sort of where they go for that financial education, who they rely on, who are they trusting, and what are some of the trusted sources that we can also turn to as a South African population. And also understanding the limitations of those sources and making sure that we all understand what are their strengths and weaknesses. Now, there's obviously quite a bit of financial pressure on young people in South Africa. When we looked at our data, a lot of our young people said that they had some form of debt, and we wanted to delve a little bit deeper into what does that look like? What kinds of debt are they sitting on? Is this the kind of first step to that over-indebtedness that we saw through the research that could lead to the eventual sort of bankruptcy or really heavy financial burdens later in life, or are these things preventable and sort of solvable over the short, medium term? So what we see on the left-hand side there is that store accounts and other loans are really highly preventable debt, especially the store accounts. We know it falls into the category of young people getting trapped in that bad debt due to a lack of financial planning, and also making those choices based on lifestyle. I think the store accounts really speak to that quite a lot. Student loans, however, which features the highest percentage here because we do have a lot of students on the platform. The debt here, it depends on what kind of debt we're looking at, and we try and encourage young people to also see student loans as positive financial debt. So this is an investment in their future. It's something that hopefully they'll understand and they're able to service. But student loans is not necessarily bad debt. It does place a burden on young people and does place a big burden on their upward financial mobility when they eventually step into their first job and they're sitting with a lot of study debt. So it is, it is a little bit of a double-sided sword there. Then the other thing we looked at here is the influences of bad financial decision. The influences on financial decision making. Some of the interesting things that we saw was a lack of financial planning and lifestyle and peer pressure. Those two things overlapped quite a bit. I think we saw that with the store accounts on the left in terms of sources of debt. We know that lifestyle and peer pressure plays a big part in how young people spend their money. So, they sort of want to keep up with societal expectations. There's an indulgence in certain lifestyles, conforming to peer influences, and it really leads young people down a path of financial instability. So a major shift from last year that we also saw was gambling wasn't really featuring last year. So this year we saw a few more of our young people saying that one of their pitfalls personally is gambling. So that's an interesting one that maybe has come about with the gamification of online gambling, and the access to that kind of platform is quite easy, and it sort of promises this world of quick financial returns that oftentimes falls into a bit of a trap of unsustainable debt. So it's one of the big pitfalls, and again, one of the places that we try and speak more to our young people about. I think that sort of covers most of what we've seen in South Africa when we look at our baseline data. And then we wanted to lean a bit more into our international partners. So Blackbullion in the UK ran this a survey to understand the mental wellness and mental health of Blackbullion users and students across the universities that they service. So 1,001 university students in the UK responded to their survey. And even though it doesn't particularly reflect the experience of South African students and youth, we thought it's a really nice reflection to see that this is a global problem. And we just offer a local solution to this global problem. So again, lots of percentages on the screen that I just wanted to touch on quickly. If we look at the right-hand side of the screen, we see that there's a lot of financial pressure affecting grades. It affects ability to focus on studies and affects physical health. So again, none of these sit independently. I think they really speak to each other. So 34% of respondents said it really affects their physical health. So that financial pressure and worrying about finances. 44% had said that it really affects, it weighs so heavily on their minds that it affects their ability to concentrate on their studies and hinders their academic performance. In which we see there at the top on the right, 32% saying their grades were affected. So there's this correlation between financial pressure and this ability to focus. And again, it reminds us a little bit about what Motlebane said in his research, that sustainable access to education and financial wellness, financial education, go hand in hand. It's a really important part of helping young people to sustain access to education and opportunities. So mental health is deeply affected by the worry about finances. And we see that 75% of the young people in this context worry about their finances, while 57% are saying that it really affects their mental health generally. And I think depending on which sector you work in, if you're familiar with the youth in South Africa, I think mental health becoming a bit of a pandemic on itself. So financial education hopefully can help us resolve some of that tension and lighten the load on the mental well-being of our young people. So really, in conclusion, it really becomes evident that adequate financial education, it could really lift that crippling effect that it's having on our young people, and turn around some of those negative repercussions that will follow young people into their future. So addressing the issues of comprehensive financial education for young people remains a huge motivation and encouragement for us. And you'll see now, I'm going to hand over to Duncan soon. Duncan will be able to show you the flip side of the coin, really. And that's the title for today, is what's on the other side. So once you expose young people to financial education, what happens then? Is there a shift? Is there a change? And we're all just learning. So as we learn from these shifts and changes, we hope we can do better and better. I'm going to hand over to Duncan. Thanks, Dee.
Apologies. Apparently, my mic was muted there. I do apologize for that. Yes. So as I was saying a bit earlier, I just like to thank Ronald for part in the platform, and I just wanted to focus on, before we showcase the impact of financial literacy interventions on young people, I thought it'd be good to just chat about how we ensure engagement on the Blackbullion South Africa platform. So let's take a look at some of the aggregated data. And we see our members being extremely engaged, with the highest engagement rate for a client being 23 lessons per user. And we'll get the opportunity to hear from them in a little bit too, which is very, very exciting to focus. And they can show us how they've went about implementing Blackbullion South Africa to make it such a success within their community. And another big contributing factor for us in ensuring engagement on the platform is community engagement activities. Our community engagement activities play a crucial role in creating a robust support network where individuals can come together to enhance their financial education, to make informed financial choices. By connecting with others who share similar financial goals and challenges, users can gain valuable insights, support, and inspiration. And the power of community lies in the collective wisdom and the shared experiences that can shape positive financial behaviors as well as outcomes. Our channels provide a very safe space for users to interact, exchange ideas, and learn from one another. And then this engagement in turn facilitates open discussions where individuals can ask questions, seek advice, and share their own money journeys. The diverse perspectives with the community foster a rich learning environment that transcends individual experiences and helps to expand knowledge horizons, which is what it's all about. By building a robust community focused on better financial decision making, we create an ecosystem where individuals feel supported and empowered. Now, let's take a look at what happens when individuals are exposed to financial literacy. Within just a minimum of 2 months of utilizing the Blackbullion South Africa platform, we observe a substantial increase of 26% in financial confidence amongst our users. User feedback specifically highlights the positive transformation in their ability to save, manage debt, as well as understand the intricacies of credit scores. These areas were targeted through specific pathways on the platform, adopting a scaled approach to address the unique needs and challenges faced by young people in South Africa. And the results reflect the most significant positive change reported by our users. The increase in financial confidence demonstrates the efficacy of the Blackbullion platform in empowering young people with practical knowledge and skills to navigate their financial journeys. And by providing accessible and engaging content, the platform equips users with the tools necessary to make informed decisions and take control of their financial well-being. The feedback from students underscores the transformative impact of financial education. Students expressed increased confidence in the ability to save, effectively manage their debts, and comprehend the complexities of credit scores. And this newfound knowledge then empowers our young people to make wiser financial choices and lays a strong foundation for long-term financial success. Right, so let's take a look at this data in more detail. Okay, especially with regards to financial behaviors. We see a change in the psychological outlook towards their finances in the previous slide, but now we notice a shift in financial behaviors among our users, and the impact that financial education on young people is reflected in the tangible changes in their actions and habits. One significant change is seen in the number of students who now save on a regular basis, which has increased by an impressive 33% and indicates a heightened awareness of the importance of saving and the adoption of a proactive approach towards building a financial safety net. By cultivating this regular saving habit, our users are taking a critical step to adopting long-term financial stability and achieving their financial goals. Additionally, we also see a remarkable 41% increase in the number of users who have implemented a monthly budget to manage their money effectively. And this shift signifies a greater emphasis on financial planning and the recognition that budgeting is a fundamental practice for sound financial management. By creating and following a budget, our users gain control of their expenses. They're able to allocate funds more strategically and ensure that their financial resources are utilized in alignment with their goals and priorities. The data on these changed financial behaviors is so vital for us because it measures the impact of financial education on young people. It also serves as concrete evidence that the knowledge and skills acquired through utilization of Blackbullion South Africa are resulting in tangible actions and positive financial habits, which is very, very vital to the success and everything that we do on a daily basis here at Blackbullion South Africa. Let's take a deeper dive into these behaviors. If you take a look at the graph, this is just after a minimum of 2 months on the platform. The impact on the platform on users' financial behaviors rather is evident. we see significant shifts towards positive financial habits and practices, and these changes demonstrate the effectiveness of our platform in fostering real and tangible improvements. If we just take a look at investments, increased quite substantially. Budgeting was a big win for us. And then once again, as Ronald mentioned earlier, owning an asset is it's a very aspirational thing at the moment, especially with regards to the stage that these users find themselves in life. So yeah, we've seen remarkable improvements in financial behaviors, and long may it continue. I'd also like us to focus a bit more on what our users had to say. And Jabulile stated that through the utilization of Blackbullion South Africa, it's helped him realize the importance of saving money through investments and savings accounts, as well as that budgeting is the main source of managing his funds. We also have Sibulile, who says that Blackbullion South Africa is such a lovely platform that is filled with great financial content and is currently helping him manage his relationship with money. So once again, the psychological aspect of money. Sibulelo loves the fact that he gets to realize the money mistakes that he makes and how to make money work for him, and understands that investing in things will help him generate more income and wealth, as well as the concept of diversifying his portfolio, i.e. not pulling all his eggs in one basket. Cool. So we also begin to start to see how changes relate to how young people start acquiring financial education. If we take a look at how students performed before access to Blackbullion South Africa and how they found their financial knowledge, we looked at Google, parents, and my bank. Ronald went into depth with regards to those stats. But after using Blackbullion South Africa, we observe a remarkable shift, with 75% of respondents now relying on Blackbullion for their financial education needs. This starts to demonstrate the trust and confidence that our users place in the platform as a reliable and comprehensive source of financial education resources. The increased adoption of Blackbullion also highlights its effectiveness in bridging the financial knowledge gap and equipping young people with the tools they need to navigate the complexities of personal finance. Furthermore, we witness a positive trend in users seeking out more accurate sources of financial education, such as their banks or other financial education products. And this change signifies a newfound confidence among our users in engaging with diverse financial education resources beyond the platform. And as they begin to acquire a deeper understanding of financial concepts and develop fluency in this often complicated language, they become more discerning in accessing accurate and reliable information. And the shift speaks to the empowerment and increased financial education skills that young people are gaining through their engagement with Blackbullion. We also focused on student perspectives on the Blackbullion South Africa platform, and they were overwhelmingly positive. They reported improved financial planning and a reduction in bad financial decisions, and which is always positive to view. We see that they are sensible in managing their money a bit better, and they're also avoiding bad financial decisions, and that's an overwhelmingly positive shift from our previous data set. And we also still notice that problems do persist in accessing the platform. There are a few obstacles, primarily related to data and time limitations, but we are committed to providing innovative solutions to overcoming these barriers to ensure greater access to all. And I'd just like to add that accessing the full content on the platform only requires 3 gigabytes of data, and students tend to have access for a year or more. So it enables long-term engagement and other learning opportunities. Taking a look at the platform a bit further, during our survey, we asked users about the content that had the most impact on them, and the results do reveal that our gamified video content, despite being the highest consumer of data, had the greatest impact on our users. Followed closely were our live webinars and articles, which also made a significant impression on our users. This year, we have had webinars which focused on crucial topics like cryptocurrency, which is very, very relevant within the youth space at the moment. We're exploring topics like black tax and many, many more. And these webinars do provide a valuable insights and practical knowledge to our users. I really hope that these insights have shown you just how important financial education is to our young people and the positive impact that decomplicating the financial jargon of finance and equipping them with the tools to be successful within the current economic environment has on them. Thank you, TK. Over to you.
Thank you so much for that, Duncan, and taking us through the Blackbullion platform and some of the insights that we've gathered from some young people. We're also joined by two very special guests. In the last couple of months, we've had positive outcomes from users at two of our partners, namely Phoenix and Amathuba Collective. Both organizations see the value of financial education and have been very successful in implementing and using the Blackbullion platform. So please give a warm welcome to Tammy Green from Phoenix and Emily from Amathuba Collective.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, TK.
Hi, Tammy. Hi, Emily. You guys well?
Good, and yourself?
Fantastic. So I'll quickly start with you, Emily. I don't know if you can tell us a bit about what you do at Amathuba Collective, and most importantly, why is financial education such a big and important thing for some of the youth that you support?
Okay, cool. So Amathuba Collective is really about supporting young people in work experience programs. So they are mostly BE finance, skills development, or work experience programs like YES. And many of the young people we work with are in their first job and earn their first salary ever. So financial education around that obviously is very important to help them deal with having access to money. And so our focus is really on strengthening their mental well-being so that they can make overall better decisions when it comes to their life in the future. And again, I mean, money is a cause of a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress. There's pressure around it that young people need to navigate. So having access to information and this sort of knowledge is so important.
Yeah, and Emily, why Blackbullion? There's a lot of financial education that seems to be free. We spoke earlier on that banks also offer financial education and so forth. Parents are also in the space where they're giving their kids information. Why was Blackbullion the tool that you guys opted for?
Yeah, we tried a lot of different tools and content, and we had dialogues around the issues that young people are facing around money, and a lot of the content is really quite budgeting and saving focused. So if you feel like you don't have money, then talking about saving isn't really relevant, or it doesn't sink in, because the predominant thought is, well, I don't have money, so I can't save. So I think, and then of course, as you have mentioned several times, there are banks, and we have invited them into our space, and it really is always a product selling show. It's never around what is it that the young people actually need in terms of knowledge and understanding. So when we were approached by the Wafunda team about Blackbullion, I was skeptical at first because it's a UK product, and I thought, what's again, there's such a specific need for young people to understand money in South Africa. So I thought, well, a UK based platform can't really be that relevant. But what they've done in terms of making the content context specific for South African Black youth living often in low-income communities, facing very specific pressures around money is phenomenal. And I feel that Blackbullion is really speaking to the emotional relationship that young people have to money, and how they think about themselves earning and spending and saving. So it's been the most incredible tool we've come across, and I think that it works is visible in the engagement of our users.
Yeah, and we've loved having you guys as a partner. And your users have actually been the most engaged on the Blackbullion platform. Can you share a bit of the success in terms of getting your young people engaged, interacting with the platform? How do you keep them motivated?
Okay, so we are lucky enough to have a campus set up. So we have 200 young people in our space, physically in our space. So it's easier to schedule time for it and to have champions, we call them, to really drive the uptake of the program. So whatever it is, we always introduce the product to a group of young leaders first. We get them excited to really understand, why is this helpful? Why is this valuable? Why do we need this? And once they've gotten it, then it almost spreads like wildfire, because then it's like you have someone who's an ambassador for, this has worked for me, now you go try it. And we are making time available in the workday. We are really checking in, is this relevant? Is this useful for you? And so it has become a bit of a movement within Amatuba Collective that this Blackbullion is really valuable and useful and so practical that we didn't have to push a lot. Once the excitement was created, it just worked.
Yeah, and lastly, Emily, in your opinion, what is the greatest success from youth being financially educated?
Well, I think there's a massive risk if they are not. That's the predominant thinking that if they don't know how to relate to money, then they're not going to build financial stability. So they're not going to be able to create the future that they deserve and that they want. So what we've seen is the confidence. Just firstly, the understanding that money doesn't have to just be anxiety producing, and money is not just about having or not having. It is about understanding and engaging with the topic differently. And we've seen the conversations that are taking place, the conversations amongst young people about money. So many more have joined Stockvelds. There's really creative investment ideas in each other's businesses. So it's just the thinking, and suddenly there is this excitement, this positivity around money that you haven't seen before. People didn't want to speak about it. And I think that includes a lot of adults too. We don't want to speak about money because it's awkward, it's anxious, it's anxiety producing. And so engaging with the emotional relationship and giving a bit of a positive spin has really led to a lot of positive conversations around money in the building. And I think the confidence that comes with that is creating this energy that even if I just save 20 Rand a month, even if I just prioritize differently, I feel the difference in my emotional my emotional response to money is different. So I can create excitement and replace this anxiety with that.
Ah, that's so beautiful. I'll go over to Tammy at Phoenix, who's also one of our partners as well. A big majority of our users are Phoenix users. Tammy, can you tell us a bit about Phoenix and how many of your users are on the Blackbullion platform?
Thank you so much, TK. So Phoenix is a public benefit organization, and basically we provide access to funding to any students across the 26 public universities through our secured, unique crowdfunding platform, as well as our skills development with other businesses. So we basically provide access to funding for students. So in terms of all the users that's on our platform from the Phoenix side, we have about over 2,000 users on Blackbullion, and really I can say it's quite a huge cohort, but this also speaks to our Thrive drivers, where financial stability is a big one.
Yeah, and how are students doing on the platform, across the different pathways? Are they achieving high scores? How's that going?
So across the different pathways, our students are performing quite high. They have quite high scores. So the performance is really good.
Yeah.
Across
That's beautiful. You spoke a bit about Thrive drivers. I just wanted to know, what is the correlation between Thrive drivers and the use of Blackbullion? And maybe you can give us a little bit more context.
Okay, so Phoenix measures success indicators are through our Thrive drivers, out of which we have 4 Thrive drivers, out of which the one is grit, emotional support, financial stability, as well as academic progress. And just looking at Blackbullion and the biggest Thrive drive that we have, which is financial stability, Blackbullion really supports that. So if I look at the latest data collection that we had across 500 Phoenix students who completed last year, the academic year, the ones who signed up for Black Bullion outvoted the access to Black Bullion over receiving donations as a top influencer in the sense of financial stability. So, which is one of our fourth Thrive drivers. So that's how Black Bullion measures up through with our Thrive drivers.
Oh man, I could literally speak to you, Tammy and Emily, the entire day, but we are running out of time. And of course, those that are more interested in what Phoenix does and what Amatuba Collective does, they can definitely find you guys on social media and of course go directly to your websites. But in the interest of time, we must move on to our Q&A and answer a couple of questions that have been coming up in terms of our chat and all the comments as well. So I'll bring in Ronald, I'll bring in Scott, and I'll also bring in Duncan in terms of some of the questions that have also come up. This one is specifically for you, Ronald. It's a question that you did answer in the chat, but I think it's a really important one. It's a question from Benedine, which is, how were these behaviors tracked? Was it self-reported, and over what period was the behavior tracked? So this goes into, how we were tracking some of our users.
Thanks for the question, Benedine. Benedine's from UNISA, so there's no surprise as to why she wants to know how the data was collected. So firstly, like Tepo showed us earlier, there's an analytics dashboard. So all of our clients have access to their own dashboard. And we at Black Bullion have an overall dashboard, so we can see across all of our clients how our users are doing. So that gives us a lot of sort of statistical data and a little bit of sentimental data that we collate. We bring it into one space. And then the other thing we do is at baseline, we run a survey. So again, collecting data across personal financial confidence, as well as some of the financial behaviors of our participants. And then at a minimum of 2 months engagement, only after that period can we assess again. So some of the ones that have now completed this, in terms of the data you're seeing today, have only been on the platform for 2 months, and some of them have been on the platform for over a year. So some of that data comes from users who signed up at the beginning of 2021 up until about, what was it, February? I think I said May, but that's not true because we skipped the last 2 months. So it'll be about up until the end of February. So that's how we collect data, and that's sort of how we bring it into a space. A lot of it is self-reported, and then a lot of it also comes off of the knowledge gained from the platform.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ronald. Another question that's come up, and I'll take this one. I'll give this one to Scott specifically. And it's around tools. What tools do we currently have on the platform? Do we plan to add any more as well?
Thanks, TK. Yeah, that's a great question. So I briefly mentioned what the content looks like earlier, and I did mention the pathways, etc. In terms of tools, so we do have a budget calculator and a spending snapshot. So that's really a practical way that our users can actually start their budgeting journey. So as well as the videos and the articles about budgeting, they can actually access these tools and just input their income and expenses, really the simple kind of steps of budgeting. And then what it produces is a really nice snapshot of current financial picture. Are you in deficit? Are you in surplus? How are you tracking in terms of your budget? So that's the main tools that we have within the platform. And then in the articles also, we link to some nice external tools, a compound interest calculator, for example, some other practical tools that users can access outside the platform as well, really to drive home the doing as well as the learning part of the financial education.
Thank you so much, Scotty. And one last one specifically for you, Duncan. And this is around, how do we ensure that learners return back to the platform? How do we ensure that they're active on the platform as well?
Yeah, so this is a big thing for us, and one of the ways we do it is through incentivizing a lot of the gamified content on the platform. So, for example, users earn certain badges on Black Bullion South Africa, and we incentivize those badges through a number of campaigns, which we push out every month. So, for example, one of our most successful campaigns is Badge Ass, which encourages users to complete a specific pathway on the platform and then and then the person who completes it with the highest score then earns a reward in the form of a Mr. D voucher or other forms of vouchers for completing that specific pathway. So incentivization is important. We also run a number of campaigns outside of the platform to encourage users to take part in our community and bring them back to the platform, which is extremely important to us, as well as re-engagement campaigns through drip mailers, various promotions, etc., etc. So that's how we go about continually engaging our users to be active on our platform. And for users who might have fallen off, we look at specific methods and specific campaigns to re-engage them to come back onto the platform and engage.
Thank you so much, Duncan. I wish I could go through all the questions and all the comments, but in the interest of time, we do need to wrap it up. But there's one comment that stood out that comes from Martin and says, I wish these kinds of services and products were around when I was in varsity. Well done to you all. So, don't you all wish that when we were in university, when we were entering the world of work, there were these types of platforms that we could utilize so that we make better decisions. So thank you guys so much for joining us for this amazing webinar. Please remember to follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on LinkedIn. And of course, if you have more questions around the Blackbullion platform, perhaps you are an organization and you're keen to get a license for some of your youth cohorts, then you can also pop us an email, blackbullion@wafunda.com, or perhaps you have additional questions around how the platform works. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. We're all playing a role in terms of financial education, and we do feel that Blackbullion is playing its role, particularly as we wrap up Youth Month. Thank you so much for your time. Happy Tuesday, and remember to catch us on social media. Thank you guys so much.